The duel on Naboo ended not with a dying gasp, but with a victorious breath. Darth Maul fell in two pieces, and Qui-Gon Jinn stood, battered yet alive, Obi-Wan at his side. The council gathered soon after. Their reluctance to accept the boy remained. Anakin Skywalker was too old, too full of fear. But Qui-Gon was not a man who bent easily. "You speak of fear," he told them, his voice deep and certain. "Then teach him to face it. You speak of destiny, yet you would turn away the very child who carries it. I will train him, with or without your blessing." The council debated, but they knew. To refuse would be to break their bond with one of the Order's wisest voices. Yoda's ears lowered, and for the first time he wondered if the Jedi had grown too rigid in their ways. Anakin grew under two shadows of guidance. Obi-Wan, the older brother who teased him, challenged him, and taught him discipline. And Qui-Gon, the father mentor who encouraged his curiosity, allowed his compassion to bloom, and whispered that listening to the living force was more important than clinging to old dogma. The dark whispers of Chancellor Palpatine reached Anakin, but they found no purchase. Each time Palpatine offered a seed of flattery, Qui-Gon was there to counter it, not with suspicion, but with truth. "You are strong, Anakin, but strength must serve life, not chain it. Do not mistake control for freedom." Obi-Wan often rolled his eyes at Qui-Gon's unorthodox teachings, but in his heart, he saw how the boy was flourishing. The bond between the three of them was unshakable: mentor, brother, and chosen son. And elsewhere, destiny shifted. Count Dooku, hearing whispers of his former apprentice's defiance against the council, did not fall so swiftly into Sidious's grasp. Seeing Qui-Gon alive, steadfast, and protecting the Chosen One, Dooku's own doubts deepened. The Sith Lord's designs unraveled before they had begun. The galaxy's fate did not burn on Mustafar. No mask of black iron was forged. No empire rose from the ashes of the Republic. Instead, Anakin Skywalker became not the shadow of the Force, but its dawn, because one man lived and refused to let him fall. If Qui-Gon Jinn had survived, Part 2, Shadows of the Master. The Jedi Temple felt different now. Its pillars still gleamed, its archives still whispered. But beneath the silence, something stirred. Not darkness, but tension. Not fear, but change. At the center of it stood Qui-Gon Jinn, Jedi Master, once maverick, now the quiet fulcrum of a new age. And orbiting just beyond the Order's reach was Count Dooku. Once master and apprentice, now men divided by decades of distance and decisions. They met again on Sereno, under twin moons. The estate Dooku called home was silent but grand, perched above a sea of mist. Qui-Gon arrived alone, his robes travel-worn, his saber at his side, not in threat but in principle. They embraced briefly, like two warriors who once fought the same war but now walked different battlefields. "You haven't changed," Dooku said, pouring wine from a crystal decanter. "And yet," Qui-Gon replied, "neither has the Council. That's the problem." They sat in long conversation, not as Jedi, not as council or exile, but as men. Qui-Gon told Dooku of Anakin Skywalker, of his progress, his compassion, his strength. Dooku listened intently. "He reminds me of you," Dooku said. "Brilliant, willful, dangerous." "Perhaps," Qui-Gon said with a smirk, "but this time, I listen more than I lecture." Dooku looked into the firelight, shadows flickering across his face. "You think this boy will fix the rot at the core of the Republic?" Qui-Gon didn't hesitate. "I think we must. Together." There it was, the unspoken invitation. For years, Dooku had drifted from the Order, disillusioned by corruption, by the Council's blindness, by the Senate's decay. He had not yet fallen to the Sith, but the edge was near, and Sidious was watching. And yet, here was Qui-Gon, alive, refusing to bend, refusing to fall, and somehow forging something new. They walked the gardens that night, debating. "Dooku, you still believe the Republic can be saved?" "Qui-Gon, Only if we stop waiting for permission to change it. Dooku, that isn't the Jedi way. Qui-Gon, maybe the Jedi way needs to evolve. Dooku paused, the stars reflecting in his dark eyes. You always did see further than the rest of us. Back on Coruscant, whispers rose. The Council did not trust Dooku. Some feared Qui-Gon was too close to a man who had once denounced them. Mace Windu raised concerns in private. Even Yoda remained cautious. A shadow still over him looms, Yoda said. So it did over me once, Qui-Gon replied. Anakin watched all of this unfold, not with fear but curiosity. To him, Dooku was not a villain but a question. What becomes of a Jedi when belief turns to doubt? But belief is not so easily killed. When a crisis on Raxus Prime forced the Jedi to intervene in a Senate weapons deal gone wrong, Qui-Gon and Dooku fought side by side for the first time in years. Back to back, their lightsabers spun in harmony. Green and blue, grace and power, master and apprentice. The rhythm returned like it had never left. Afterward, bloodied but alive, Dooku looked at his old student and said quietly, "This felt right. More right than I've felt in years," but he still did not return to the Order. Instead, Dooku created something new, a neutral enclave on Sereno. Jedi who chose not to serve the Senate, but the Force directly. A quiet rebellion. Some called them heretics, others visionaries. Qui-Gon visited often. He did not recruit. He did not persuade. He simply reminded his old master, "You are not alone in your doubt." And slowly, Dooku began to teach again, not in defiance, but in hope. Meanwhile, Sidious watched. He had counted on Dooku's fall. He had counted on Qui-Gon's death. Now he saw a new danger. Two Jedi, ancient and unorthodox, reshaping destiny not through war, but through belief. He whispered in the dark to his future apprentice, one yet unknown, and promised, "The Jedi are splintering, but if we cannot divide them through fear, we shall tempt them through purpose." The Sith would come again, but the galaxy was no longer asleep. Qui-Gon had lit a torch, and Dooku, once lost in shadows, had stopped walking away.